The pressure for any kind of immediate ROI in high growth environments is real. It makes brand building feel like a luxury when in reality, I think it's just so critical, and it's that engine that makes your performance marketing more effective. So I advocate for both. I think where possible, using your brand to build trust and credibility, especially in a competitive environment. It can also help buttress your brand during times that are challenging and like COVID or, experimentation, business evolution, like the moment that we're in. I consider myself a brand nerd.
Welcome to Frank Growth. I'm Jason Shafton, and I run the growth consulting firm Winston Francois. Around here, we tell the truth about growing, the good, the bad, and the can't say it out loud ugly. Every episode, we get tactical with operators, investors, and builders about what works, what breaks, and what to do next. No fluff, no vanity metrics, no hustle theater, just signal. This is Frank Growth. Let's get into it. Today, we've got Sara Wallace from Cashback to Platform. Before we bring Sara in, a quick riff on today's topic. Most companies die from brand confusion, not brand obscurity. They get good at one thing, then they try to be everything to everyone. The consumer app wants to also be the enterprise platform. The B2B tool wants to also serve prosumers. The cashback app wants to also be the performance marketing powerhouse. Three problems I see happen. One, identity crisis in messaging. The original value prop gets diluted while a new positioning lacks credibility. Two, customer fragmentation. Existing users get confused while new prospects can't figure out what the product actually does. And three, internal misalignment. Marketing teams end up running two separate campaigns to the same market, cannibalizing budget and attention. Here's what actually works. Bridge the old and new value props. Show how the original strength enables the expanded vision instead of replacing it. Segment the narrative deliberately. Different audiences get different entry points into the same underlying story. Use proof points from the core business. Billions in consumer transactions is credibility for the enterprise platform pitch. That's the frame we'll use with Sara today. Now let's get tactical. Sara, welcome to Frank Growth.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
We're so glad you're here. You're head of brand marketing at Ibotta, a company that most people know as the cashback app, but you're actually positioning as a performance marketing platform. Before Ibotta, you ran global AI go-to-market strategies at Google Cloud, managing massive executive events and building brand credibility in complex tech markets. Now you're doing something really interesting, rebranding a consumer darling into an enterprise platform without killing what made it successful in the first place. Let's get into it.
Sounds great.
Ibotta started as this cashback app that consumers love. Now you're positioning as this performance marketing platform. How do you rebrand without alienating the core user base?
Yeah, actually, this is a unique question because we're not. So our cashback app of consumers and folks looking for promotional deals, discounts, and their favorite brands is very different from the enterprise level or publisher level audience of our performance marketing platform. So if anything, the love and the growth that we've had on the cashback app is only fueling the opportunity we have with some of these other big marketing giants. So we are transitioning, and I would say where it probably comes to the most head is in social media, where it sometimes feels like if you're going to look for Ibotta as a consumer and then you're looking and you see business-oriented communication, like that might be a bit of a stopgap, so something that we're working through. But I feel like from a branding perspective, we have two pretty distinct audiences.
That's interesting. So there's the Ibotta Performance Network. Most people haven't heard of this, obviously. How do you build awareness for a B2B platform when a lot of that brand recognition has really lived on the consumer side?
Right. And that is our big, juicy marketing challenge. And honestly, what drove me to take this role. So I've been at Ibotta about 5 months and have joined at a time where there's been some organizational shifts to really focusing in on business marketing. So as you mentioned, my background at Google, this was another thing my team and I helped build at Google for Google Cloud. So this burgeoning branch of technology, how we're taking something forward, the fact that we have the same name, very similar to Google as well. I find myself in these companies who take our first name and add to it. So Google, Google Cloud, Ibotta Performance Network, which is kind of funny. But we are a white label technology opportunity and technology platform that doesn't get a lot of credit. And I think that to me, there's just such richness in the story and the opportunity we have with marketers that there's a great story to tell. It's just a matter of how we chase it. So you're right. The consumer brand recognition is high and it's so associated with cashback. And now as we translate that for marketers, what we're really trying to hone in on is that performance piece. So the opportunity for us is the actions and the behaviors of our consumers is driving the marketing and the performance and the incremental growth for our customers.
You came from Google Cloud where you ran AI go to market strategies. What did that teach you about positioning tech platforms to non tech buyers?
Yeah, a lot, actually. I think Google holistically has always been really great at translating these complex technical concepts into very consumer oriented and humanistic terms and opportunities. So I think even at the highest levels, at Google Cloud, talking to CIOs and CTOs, they're still people. We weren't trying to prove anything that we were the smartest people in the room. We were trying to say, like, here's how we support all the great work that your organization is doing. So I think it really comes down to understanding your audience, understanding their pain points, talking to them like people.
Yeah, I love that. And your marketing team is restructuring under a new chief revenue officer after the chief marketing officer had left. How do you rebuild momentum when the leadership structure is shifting around you?
Yeah. I was curious how this was going to work, to be honest with you. I've worked for a CMO for all of my career. And I would say that we have this fantastic leader in Chris Reedy, and he understands and supports marketing. He's very people oriented in his growth approach. And I think you understand the momentum and his vision for what we're building together. And the people that he's hired over the last 12 months, I think there's very much this team mentality and we're all in this together and see the opportunity for Ibotta. And so it's been high energy and I think really motivating.
You mentioned being cautious about AI discussions due to legal and compliance concerns. How do you balance thought leadership with regulatory constraints?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's tricky because everyone's talking about AI. There's a lot of really intelligent work happening internally, but at the risk of overpromising, not feeling like something's fully baked, experimentation and innovation happening at the company level. I think everyone's a little bit gun shy to talk about how, exactly what and how they are embracing the technology and what they're doing with it. And, coming from an AI first company into, it was more or less a black box what we did from a technology perspective internally. But I understood what we offered externally. So then as you start to dig and meet with more and more people across our technology team, it's just incredible. And I think the way that they're thinking about the tools, the foundations, the code, the way that they're offering this to all of us, from everyone from marketing to sales to analytics, is really wonderful. And I think we're embracing it as much as we can. What we say publicly, I think, will still be a little bit, stunted until we have a fully baked, offering and or fully baked legal story. But so far, so good.
You mentioned that you're working on this CEO hosted podcast. What role does founder led content play in kind of building the brand?
Yeah, so I mean, this is exciting and I should learn and take notes from you, honestly. But we are a founder-led company and we have a really passionate leader in Brian Leach. So he has great connections, points of view, and just like a great innovation story to tell. And so we're trying to find opportunities to tell that story. In terms of how he thinks about brand, I think he has built the brand based on technology and just finding a smarter way to do things. And we are able to take a lot of that IP and apply it and find ways to also connect that in with other leaders who are doing the same thing and trying to navigate similar situations in their own businesses.
So coming from Google's executive marketing team, you ran these massive C-suite events like Leader Circle. How does enterprise marketing translate to a company transitioning, and kind of moving up market? You've got a great consumer business and now you're building this enterprise business. How are you thinking about that based on what you learned at Google?
Yeah, and this links a little to our earlier discussion. I think Ibotta has been fortunate to partner with some of the biggest players in the industry, like Walmart, as well as those, operating really quickly, like Uber and DoorDash. Uber also being an example of a company that's transitioned from consumer to enterprise.
What have you taken away from that experience that's like directly applicable to what you're building now inside of Ibotta?
So I think directly taken away is honestly how we present ourselves and how we can as a strategic partner, honestly, in both
Mhm.
situations. So what can we provide that is valuable to our customers. So on the Google side, translating that into events, especially at times that were really tricky across the business, right? Coming out of COVID-19, how that affected businesses, coming into this world of AI and how that was immediately affecting businesses. It's similar for Ibotta. So when I think about what the changing consumer dynamic looks like right now, the economic volatility, just how spending has changed, how buying has changed, especially for Gen Z, where everything is online, how we are needing to meet people where they are in a different way during a purchase cycle or in a customer journey. So it's just how do we translate that and how do we present ourselves as a strategic partner? How do we find ways to just, you know, support the businesses that we work with? And I think it's really been the same across both. I would say that it would be one thing that was a really great learning ground building the executive marketing team at Google, and then how we approach the work that we're doing on the business marketing here at Ibotta.
Performance marketing is like a brutally competitive space. There's players like Amazon DSP, Google Ads, Meta. What makes Ibotta's platform differentiated?
Sure. I think just as Google and Facebook are leveraging technology to optimize their ad placement, we also use real time conversion signals. We use large language models. We can configure offers based on different purchase thresholds, different brand thresholds, different consumers. So it allows us to move beyond a one size fits all coupons environment, which I think sets our technology apart. It's not altogether different from the way, especially that, Google and Facebook and Amazon have kind of grown their technology in order to reach consumers in the ad space.
So Denver has become this kind of fintech hub with companies like Ibotta. How does being based outside of Silicon Valley affect your marketing strategy and talent acquisition for building your team?
Yeah, it's been interesting, especially because I've had a lot of new hires recently, which has been exciting to build. And there's a wonderful group of people in Denver. And I think that it is often overlooked because it's not Silicon Valley and it's not a big CPG hub. But I think that people choose to live here, which has been really interesting. I think there's a like life brought them here and work keeps them here. And so I think having a really interesting company like Ibotta that's been hiring, that's very much a leader in the Denver market. I think it has a lot of cachet, right? A lot of people see us on the Denver Nuggets jerseys and they're like, what is Ibotta? Or they maybe were familiar with us from the cashback app, but then I think they see a lot of the work that we're doing and get excited about joining a company like this.
Your LinkedIn shows that you're hiring for multiple roles this year. What marketing skills are most important as Ibotta scales the platform side of the business?
Yeah, I think there's a lot of cultural pieces that are really critical for me. And, we have our own values at Ibotta, some of which are things like transparency and ownership, and a good idea can come from anywhere. And I love that. And I think what I also learned at Google, living, through this agile kind of ambiguous tech company growth, is that you need people who are not afraid to try something, who feel empowered to make decisions, who will fail fast. And so those, like, I hate to call them soft skills because they're not. They're actually really hard. But I think for me, that's those cultural pieces that I'm looking for that is really critical.
Yeah. Consumer behavior is really shifting toward more price conscious shopping. How does that trend play into Ibotta's positioning as both a cashback app and a marketing platform?
Yeah, this is a great question. And I think, as mentioned, years of like economic volatility have just created this new type of shopper, which is a massive opportunity for CPGs. And brands can't just be guests, right? They can't just kind of show up and leverage the same playbook that they've had in the past. And so I think Ibotta helps be this really great connection for brands on how to reach those consumers. Also, we annually publish something called the State of Spend, and it showed us a few interesting insights. I think, namely, folks are trying to maximize their budget, right? And they're shopping smarter. We saw actually a decrease in list making, which sounds crazy to me as a list maker. I can't imagine running into the grocery store without making a list. But what they're actually doing is like having a loose idea and then using promotions to help fill in the gaps. And like, let's say, pasta is on sale. Pasta wasn't necessarily in my meal plan, but I need something for Wednesday. And so I'm gonna hit up pasta. I'm gonna use that promotion and buy pasta. And I thought that was it was really interesting insight that we found. So it's like I can option my savings and I still have some ownership in the decision making, but I think Ibotta is uniquely positioned to help push that right at the point of sale and or post-purchase so that those customers are getting maximum value for their shopping. Also, I think the shift to private label was another thing that came up in our state of spend report. And just, I think as as I was growing up, I think private label was deemed of inferior quality, whereas now the quality gap has closed. I think folks are finding that it's actually not a trade down. So they're using their money in different ways. And so brands just need to show up and be willing to capture and retain those types of shoppers as they are more increasingly hit by the economic realities.
You've mentioned that the brand perception is a long-term asset that supplements measurable marketing. How do you balance brand building with performance demands in a high growth environment like Ibotta?
Yeah, it's a great question. I mean, the pressure for any kind of immediate ROI in high growth environments is real. It makes brand building feel like a luxury when in reality, I think it's just so critical and it's that engine that makes your performance marketing more effective. So I advocate for both. I think where possible, using your brand to build trust and credibility, especially in a competitive environment. It can also help buttress your brand during times that are challenging and as mentioned, COVID or experimentation, business evolution, like the moment that we're in. I consider myself a brand nerd. And so I will, do what I can to sing the praises of brand and brand opportunities. And sometimes those are more subtle, right? Sometimes it's just having that always on connection for folks or being present and where they are and just being a stalwart. Other times it's being experimental and it's offering them new, insightful ways to connect. But yeah, it is difficult because it can often be hard to measure and to track.
Being a brand nerd is fun. Just as an aside, I'm curious what your like who's a brand that you like absolutely admire? What's one of your favorite brands?
Man, I'm sorry to take this route, but I really love Nike.
That's a good answer. It's just a great one.
It's so hard for me because I love the emotional work that they do. I'm also a huge brand advocate, and I mean, have worn the same shoes for a decade. Shout out Nike Pegasus. I just think that the way that they also use influencers and celebrities is really clever. So I really love them. When I think about B2B, I get this question a lot. And again, the brand nerdiness of me is something like Shopify. I use them as a reference internally a lot. I think they've done a great job of like going from like super tactical entrepreneurial software to being this aspirational, sometimes even emotive opportunity seeking brand builder. And I think that we don't talk about Shopify a lot in the real world, but I think from a business brand perspective, I think they do a great job.
You're known for fostering innovation and spearheading new programs. What's one initiative at Ibotta that most people maybe would overlook that you're really excited about?
Yeah, from the beginning, we've been a company focused on innovation, right? The idea that there was this better, smarter way to approach promotions. That's literally how we started. I think our transition from a cashback app to the IPN was also really great technology. And then I think a lot of the internal intelligence that's powering the company is really impressive. And I don't know that folks think of us as a technology company. When I describe us, I say we are a technology company in the performance marketing space because we have white label technology for the largest retailer in the world, right? We are powering the networks and the loyalty programs for so many grocery and retailer partners that I don't think that folks know. Just little things like that I
Yeah.
think folks overlook about it.
This is my favorite part of the show. Do a quick lightning round, quick questions, quick answers. You ready to go? All right. One metric you check every morning.
Content performance,
What's the best marketing channel that B2B SaaS platforms are underutilizing?
influencer marketing,
Finish the sentence. The brand that survives a positioning shift is the one that.
isn't afraid of reinvention.
And aside from Nike, do you have a favorite B2B brand that you admire?
Shopify.
Nice. Sarah, this was insightful and very usable. Where can people find you online and learn more about what Ibotta is up to?
You can find me on LinkedIn or check out our resource hub on Ibotta and get some more insights about both Ibotta and our consumers.
Amazing. Thank you for coming on, Sarah. This was great.
Thanks for having me, Jason.
That was Sara Wallace and a clear look at how to reposition a brand without losing the thing that made it work. Here's my quick top 3 from today. If you don't remember anything else, remember these 3 things. 1, your consumer business is the proof, not the problem. Sarah made this point clearly. The growth and trust Ibotta has built with consumers is what fuels the enterprise opportunity. When you're expanding into a new market, don't hide your origin story. Use it as the credibility layer for the new positioning. 2, talk to decision makers like people, not titles. Sara took this from Google Cloud. Even when you're in the room with CIOs and CTOs, you're not trying to prove you're the smartest person there. You're trying to show how you support what their organization is already doing. That shift from proving to supporting changes how your messaging lands. And 3, brand is the engine, not the luxury. Sara calls herself a brand nerd and made the case directly. Brand makes your performance marketing more effective. And in a high growth environment where the pressure is always on short-term ROI, brand is what buttresses you during transitions, competitive pressure, and moments of reinvention. Performance on fumes. One action you can take this week that's 10 minutes or less, take one piece of your positioning that still describes what your company was and rewrite it to show how that original strength, what you're becoming. If your consumer traction, your early product, or your original use case isn't doing double duty as proof for your next chapter, you're leaving credibility on the table. That's Frank Growth. If this gave you something you can use this week, follow the show and share it with one operator or founder who needs it. I'm Jason Shafton from Winston Francois. We help tech companies build sustainable, repeatable growth with a proven operating system. Show notes and takeaways are in the description. Be frank and keep growing.